Did you know that some of the actors in the Sentinel weren't actors at all? They were real people with real conditions, cast to play demons from hell. That choice shocked audiences and stirred debates that still echo today. The Sentinel, released in 1977, is a horror film that dared to go where few movies had gone before. It told the story of a young model named Allison who moves into a beautiful Brooklyn brownstone only to discover it sits above the gateway to hell. What she thought was a dream apartment became her worst nightmare. The film mixed psychological terror with visceral horror, and behind the scenes, the making of this movie was just as strange and unsettling as the story itself. From bizarre casting decisions to dangerous stunts, from real locations with dark histories to actors who were genuinely terrified on set, the Sentinel pushed boundaries in ways that still surprise people today. Let's dive in and discover 20 weird and amazing facts about the Sentinel. Number 20. A bestseller turned into nightmare fuel. The Sentinel started as a novel by Jeffrey Konvitz. Published in 1974, the book became a bestseller almost overnight, tapping into the same religious horror trend that made The Exorcist and Rosemary's Baby so popular. Readers couldn't put it down. The story mixed Catholic guilt, supernatural terror, and psychological breakdown in a way that felt both ancient and modern. Konvitz wasn't a priest or a theologian. He was a lawyer who loved horror and understood how to build dread page by page. His book caught the attention of Hollywood producers who saw dollar signs in demons. Universal Pictures bought the rights quickly, betting that audiences hungry for demonic scares would fill theaters. They were right. Turning the book into a movie meant making some wild choices. What worked on the page, internal thoughts, director Michael Winner took the job, bringing his own dark sensibilities to the project. Winner had made violent thrillers before, but this was different. This required atmosphere, unease, and genuine terror. The novel gave him a blueprint, but he had to build the house of horrors himself, and he built it in ways no one expected. Number 19. Michael Winner's dark vision. Michael Winner was known for making tough, violent films. He directed Death Wish in 1974, a revenge thriller that sparked controversy and became a huge hit. Winner didn't shy away from the extreme or the uncomfortable. He took on the Sentinel. He saw it as a chance to explore real fear, not just jump scares. He wanted the film to feel like a descent into madness, where reality and nightmare blurred together. Winner was British, precise, and demanding on set. Actors either loved him or feared him, sometimes both. He pushed people hard, believing that discomfort on set translated to authenticity on screen. For the Sentinel, that meant long hours in creepy locations, practical effects that looked real because they were real, and casting choices that made everyone uneasy. Winner didn't want a sanitized Hollywood horror film. He wanted something that felt dangerous, something that lingered in your mind long after you left the theater. His vision shaped every frame of the movie. He chose shadows over bright lights, silence over constant music, and slow creeping dread over sudden shocks. Winner believed that the scariest thing wasn't what you saw, but what you almost saw. What you suspected was there just beyond the edge of the frame. That approach made the Sentinel unforgettable. Number 18. Filming in a real brownstone with a dark past. The movie was filmed in an actual brownstone in Brooklyn, New York. Not a studio set, not a soundstage. A real building where real people had lived and died. The location scouts found a beautiful old brownstone in the Park Slope neighborhood, and it looked perfect. But the building came with stories. Locals whispered about strange occurrences, unexplained sounds, and a general feeling of unease. Some crew members didn't want to work there after dark. The building had a history, though details were murky and mixed with neighborhood legend. Whether the stories were true or not didn't matter. The atmosphere was real. Walking through those narrow hallways, climbing the creaking stairs, standing in rooms where the wallpaper seemed to watch you, it all added to the film's oppressive mood. The actors felt it. Christina Rains, who played the lead role of Allison, said the place gave her chills at night when the film crew set up lights and the shadows grew longer. The building seemed to come alive. Winner loved it. He used the architecture, the textures, the natural decay of the old place to his advantage. Every corner of that brownstone became a character in the film. It wasn't just a location, it was a trap. Number 17, Christina Raines and the Weight of Terror. Christina Raines was a rising star when she was cast as Allison Parker, the young model who becomes the reluctant guardian of Hell's Gate. She had done television and some film work, but nothing like this. The Sentinel demanded that she carry the entire movie on her shoulders, descending from hope and normalcy into confusion, fear, and finally, horror. Raines threw herself into the role. She studied the script, talked with Winner about Allison's psychological journey, and tried to understand what it would feel like to lose your grip on reality. The shoot was exhausting. Long days, night shoots, emotionally draining scenes. Raines had to scream, cry. Some scenes required her to react to things that weren't there yet, trusting that effects would be added later. Other scenes put her face to face with actors in disturbing makeup or, worse, real people whose appearances were shocking. Raines didn't complain. She wanted to do the role justice, but the toll was real. She later said that making the film felt like living in a bad dream for months. The line between Allison's terror and her own sometimes blurred. That authenticity shows on screen. When Allison is scared, you believe it. When she's breaking down, you feel it. Raines gave everything to the role, and it became one of the most intense performances in 70s horror. Number 16. Chris Sarandon's charming menace. Chris Sarandon played Michael Lerman, Allison's charming lawyer boyfriend who may not be what he seems. Sarandon had recently gained attention for playing Al Pacino's transgender wife in Dog Day Afternoon, a fearless and sensitive performance. In The Sentinel, he had to be smooth, likable, and subtly menacing. Michael starts as Allison's support, her rock in a confusing world. But as the story unfolds, cracks appear. Is he protecting her or manipulating her? Is he human or something else? Sarandon walked that line beautifully. He brought warmth and charm, making audiences want to trust Michael even as doubt crept in. Sarandon understood that the best horror comes from betrayal, from realizing the person you loved was never real. He played Michael as both lover and predator, never tipping his hand too early. Offset, Sarandon was professional and thoughtful, often discussing his character's motivations with Winner. He wanted to understand Michael's role in the cosmic game being played around Allison. Sarandon didn't just play a boyfriend. He played temptation, doubt, and the seductive pull away from faith. His performance added layers to a film that could have been a simple haunted house story. Instead, it became a moral and psychological puzzle. Number 15. Burgess Meredith as the creepy neighbor. Burgess Meredith, famous for playing the Penguin in the Batman TV series and later Mickey in the Rocky films, took on the role of Charles Chazen, one of Allison's bizarre neighbors. Meredith was a legend, a character actor with decades of experience. In The Sentinel, he played Chazen as eccentric, intrusive, and unsettling. Chazen throws strange parties, asks inappropriate questions, and invades Allison's space with a smile that doesn't reach his eyes. Meredith loved playing weirdos and villains. He knew how to make an audience uncomfortable with just a look or a pause. His scenes in The Sentinel are masterclasses in quiet menace. He's polite but wrong, friendly but creepy. You can't quite put your finger on what's off about him, but you know something is. Meredith brought a theatrical flair to the role, leaning into the strangeness without going over the top. He understood that horror works best when it's grounded in something almost normal. Chazen could be your neighbor, the odd man upstairs who makes you lock your door at night. Meredith filmed his scenes with enthusiasm, enjoying the chance to be part of a dark, strange story. Presence added credibility and a touch of classic Hollywood to a film that was pushing new boundaries. Number 14. Ava Gardner in a small but powerful role. Ava Gardner, one of the great stars of Hollywood's golden age, appeared in The Sentinel in a brief but important role. By 1977, Gardner's leading lady days were behind her, but her presence still commanded attention. She played a real estate agent who sells Allison the cursed apartment. It's a small part, just a few scenes, but Gardner brought elegance and gravity. Her character is polite professional, and subtly ominous, knowing more than she lets on. Gardner's involvement gave the film a touch of old Hollywood glamour, a connection to a different era of filmmaking. On set, she was professional, hitting her marks and delivering her lines with the ease of someone who had done this 1,000 times. But the film's dark subject matter and unconventional approach were far from the MGM musicals and romances she had starred in decades earlier. Gardner didn't judge the material. She did her job and moved on. Her scenes work because she plays them straight. No winking at the camera, no camp. She's just a woman selling an apartment, and the mundane reality of that makes the horror to come even more shocking. Gardner's name on the poster also helped sell the film, drawing in older audiences who might not have been interested in a horror movie otherwise. Number 13. The casting of real people as demons. Here's where the Sentinel became truly controversial. For the film's climactic scene, where Allison confronts the demons of hell, Michael Winner made a shocking decision. Instead of using actors in makeup or prosthetics, he cast real people with physical deformities and disabilities. He brought in individuals with conditions that affected their appearance, people who had lived their lives on the margins, stared at, othered. Winner put them in minimal or no makeup and filmed them as the faces of hell. The intention, Winner said, was authenticity. He wanted the audience to feel genuine shock and discomfort, to see something they had never seen before on screen. And it worked. The scene is unforgettable, deeply unsettling, and unlike anything else in horror cinema. But it also sparked outrage. Advocacy groups condemned the film for exploiting vulnerable people, for equating physical difference with evil and monstrosity. Critics called it tasteless and cruel. Winner defended his choice, arguing that he treated everyone on set with respect and paid them fairly. Individuals who appeared in the film said they were happy to be part of a movie. To be seen, even in this context, the ethics remained murky. Exploitation or opportunity? Art or offense? Debate continues today. What's undeniable is that the scene is powerful and disturbing, achieving exactly what Winner wanted, a visceral, unforgettable confrontation with the grotesque. Number 12. The influence of Catholic imagery and guilt. The Sentinel is soaked in Catholic symbolism. Crosses, priests, confession, sin, guilt, redemption, and damnation fill the story. Allison's journey is a religious allegory. She's being tested, chosen to become the next Sentinel, a guardian who must sit alone in the brownstone, watching the gate to hell for eternity. The film taps into deep-rooted fears about sin and punishment, about being judged and found wanting. Konvitz, who wrote the original novel, was fascinated by Catholic theology and its dramatic potential. He wasn't interested in celebrating faith, but in exploring its darker, more oppressive aspects. The idea that one person must suffer forever to protect the world is both noble and horrifying. Winner, though not religious himself, understood the visual power of Catholic iconography. He filled the film with candles, rosaries, holy water, and solemn rituals. The final scenes, where Allison is presented with her fate, feel like a twisted religious ceremony. The film asks uncomfortable questions. Is sacrifice holy or cruel? Is faith a gift or a curse? The movie doesn't provide easy answers. Instead, it uses religion as a source of fear, turning sacred symbols into instruments of dread. For audiences raised Catholic, The Sentinel hit especially hard, dredging up childhood fears of hell and eternal punishment. Number 10. The father's disturbing party scene. One of the most disturbing sequences in The Sentinel is the flashback to Allison's traumatic discovery of her father with two women. The scene is grotesque and deeply uncomfortable. Young Allison walks in on her father engaged in a sexual act that is framed as deviant and sinful. The imagery is deliberately repulsive, designed to convey Allison's shock and disgust. This moment becomes the source of her guilt and self-loathing, the sin she can't forgive herself for witnessing, even though she was the innocent party. Winner shot the scene with harsh lighting and unflattering angles, making everything look ugly and wrong. The actors playing the father and the women committed fully to the unpleasantness. It's a hard scene to watch, And that's the point. The film wants you to understand the weight of Allison's trauma, the psychic wound that never healed. This isn't just backstory. It's the foundation of her vulnerability. The trauma made her attempt suicide, and that attempt made her a candidate for the Sentinel's role. It suggests that suffering and sin, whether committed or witnessed, mark a soul, making it useful to the cosmic forces at war over the gate to hell. It's a bleak, almost cruel theology, but it gives the horror a deeper, more existential edge. Number 8. The controversy over exploitation beyond the casting of real people as demons. The Sentinel faced criticism for its overall tone and content. Some critics accused it of being gratuitously disturbing, using shock for shock's sake. The film's treatment of women, disability, sexuality, and religion all came under fire. Feminist critics pointed out that Allison is punished for her sexuality and her father's sins, forced into a life of isolation and suffering. Disability advocates condemned the use of real people's bodies as symbols of evil. Religious groups were divided. Some saw it as a powerful exploration of faith and sacrifice, others as blasphemous exploitation. Winner dismissed most of the criticism, insisting that art should provoke and disturb. He believed that horror films had a responsibility to push boundaries, to show what polite society wanted to ignore. Whether you agree with him or not, the Sentinel certainly didn't play it safe. It took risks, made bold choices, and sparked conversations that went beyond whether it was scary or not. The controversy didn't hurt the film at the box office. If anything, it helped. People went to see what all the fuss was about, and they left either horrified or fascinated, rarely indifferent. Number 7. The haunting music score. The music for The Sentinel was composed by Gil Mel, a jazz musician and composer who had worked on several films and TV shows. Mel created a score that was eerie, atonal, and unsettling. He used electronic instruments alongside traditional orchestration, creating sounds that felt alien and wrong. The music doesn't comfort or guide. It disorients and disturbs. In key scenes, the score builds tension with long, droning notes, sudden sharp stabs of sound, and dissonant chords that set your teeth on edge. Mel understood that silence can be as powerful as sound, so he used music sparingly, letting scenes breathe and allowing the natural creaks and whispers of the location to feel the space. When the music does come in, it's a signal that something is wrong, that reality is slipping. The score perfectly complements Winner's visual approach, adding another layer of unease. It's not a hummable, memorable theme like some horror scores. It's more like a sonic texture, a soundscape of dread. Listening to it outside the context of the film, it still feels ominous, like something is lurking just out of sight. Number 6. The final revelation and Allison's fate. The film's ending is bleak and uncompromising. Allison learns that she has been chosen to become the next Sentinel, replacing the blind priest who currently guards the gate. She is told that this is her purpose, her destiny, the reason for all her suffering. She will sit alone in the brownstone, blind and silent, for the rest of her life, watching over the entrance to hell. She has no choice. Refusing means the gate opens and demons pour into the world. Accepting means eternal isolation and suffering. It's a cruel fate, and the film doesn't pretend otherwise. In the final scene, we see Allison years later, blind, sitting in a window, the new Sentinel. A young woman comes to look at the apartment, and the cycle begins again. The ending is chilling because it offers no escape, no redemption, no hope. Allison's suffering serves a purpose, but that doesn't make it less tragic. Christina Rains played the final scenes with quiet resignation, her face blank, her eyes sightless. It's a powerful, haunting image that lingers long after the credits roll. The film asks, is this sacrifice noble or monstrous? Is Allison a hero or a victim? The answer is both, and that ambiguity is what makes the ending so disturbing. Number 5. The film's connection to other 70s horror, The Sentinel, was part of a wave of religious horror films in the 1970s. The Exorcist in 1973, The Omen in 1976, and Carrie in 1976 all explored themes of faith, sin, and supernatural evil. Audiences were fascinated by stories that took religious ideas seriously, that treated the devil and demons as real and terrifying. The Sentinel fit into this trend, but also stood apart. It was darker, bleaker, and more nihilistic than its peers. Where The Exorcist ended with a priest's sacrifice saving a child, The Sentinel ended with a young woman trapped forever. There was no victory, no light at the end. The film also shared Dina with psychological thrillers like Rosemary's Baby, where the horror comes from isolation, paranoia, and the erosion of trust. Allison, like Rosemary, is surrounded by people who claim to help but are really manipulating her. The 70s were a time of disillusionment in America, Vietnam, Watergate, economic trouble. Horror films reflected that darkness, exploring fears that went beyond monsters to include betrayal, corruption, and the failure of institutions. The Sentinel captured that mood perfectly. Number 4. The real Brooklyn locations and atmosphere beyond the main brownstone, The Sentinel was filmed on location throughout Brooklyn and New York City. Winner wanted the film to feel grounded in reality, so he used real streets, real buildings, real neighborhoods. The city itself becomes a character, cold and indifferent, beautiful and menacing. Scenes shot in Central Park on busy streets and in apartments give the film a documentary-like quality, a sense of the real world intruding on the nightmare. The contrast between normal city life and the horrors Allison experiences makes the terror more potent. You can imagine walking past that brownstone yourself, unaware of the evil inside. The location shooting also added unpredictability. Passers-by sometimes wandered into frame, weather changed unexpectedly, and the noise of the city bled into scenes. Winner embraced these elements, using them to enhance the film's realism. The crew dealt with cold, crowds, and the logistical challenges of shooting in a busy city, but the effort paid off. The Sentinel looks and feels like it belongs to New York, rooted in a specific place and time. Number 3. The influence of Dante's Inferno. Jeffrey Konvitz drew inspiration from Dante Alighieri's Inferno, the medieval epic poem describing a journey through hell. Dante's vision of hell as structured, organized, and terrifyingly logical influenced Konvitz's conception of the gate and the Sentinel's role. In Dante, hell is a place of eternal punishment, each level designed for specific sins. In the Sentinel, hell is always pressing against the gate, trying to break through, held back only by the vigilance of one person. The film's vision of demons and the damned echoes Dante's grotesque imagery. The idea that one human must suffer to keep cosmic evil at bay is both tragic and mythic, the kind of story that resonates across centuries. Winner and Konvitz wanted the film to feel ancient, as if the story had been told in different forms forever. The Catholic theology, the emphasis on sin and redemption, and the visual depiction of hell all nod to Dante. For viewers familiar with Inferno, the connections deepen the film's impact, adding layers of meaning and dread. Number 2. Christina Rain's career after The Sentinel. Despite her powerful performance, The Sentinel didn't catapult Christina Rain to stardom. She continued to work steadily in television and film throughout the late 70s and 80s, but she never became a household name. Some speculate that the intensity of the role, or the film's controversial reputation, made her wary of horror or typecasting. Others suggest that Hollywood simply didn't know what to do with an actress who had given such a raw, unglamorous performance. Rain herself rarely spoke publicly about The Sentinel in later years, perhaps preferring to move on from the grueling experience. She appeared in TV shows, made-for-TV movies, and smaller film roles, building a respectable career without the spotlight. Watching her in The Sentinel now, it's clear she had the talent and presence to carry a film. Her performance is layered, emotional, and fearless. She deserved more recognition. The film remains her most remembered role, a testament to her commitment and skill. Number 1. The film's legacy and cult status, The Sentinel, was a modest box office success when it was released, drawing crowds curious about its shocking content and star-studded cast. Reviews were mixed. Some praised its atmosphere and bold choices, others condemned it as tasteless. Over time, the film found a second life on home video and late-night television. Horror fans discovered it, appreciating its willingness to go further than most mainstream films. It became a cult classic, discussed and debated in horror circles. Film scholars examined its themes, its controversial casting, and its place in 70s horror. The film's reputation grew, not as a masterpiece, but as a daring, uncompromising work that pushed boundaries and refused to look away. Today, The Sentinel is studied in film classes, screened at horror festivals, and analyzed in books and documentaries about the genre. It remains controversial, but that controversy is part of its power. The film forces viewers to confront uncomfortable questions about representation, exploitation, suffering, and faith. It doesn't provide easy answers, and that's why it endures. The Sentinel is a film that challenges you, disturbs you, and stays with you long after you've watched it. Bonus fact: there's one more secret about The Sentinel that few people know. During the final week of filming, a small fire broke out on the set inside the brownstone. It happened late at night during a break when most of the crew was outside. Someone smelled smoke, and they rushed in to find flames spreading from an old electrical wire in the wall. The fire department came quickly and put it out before serious damage was done. But the incident shook everyone. The building was old, full of wood and plaster, and it could have gone up in minutes. Some crew members, already uneasy about the location and the film's dark subject matter, took the fire as a bad sign, a warning. Others laughed it off as coincidence. An old building with old wiring. Winner, ever the pragmatist, was just relieved no one was hurt and they could finish filming. But the fire added to the legend of the production, another strange event in a shoot full of them. The brownstone survived, the film was completed, and the story of the fire became one more weird footnote in the making of The Sentinel. Old buildings, old stories, old fears, all burning bright for a moment, then fading into memory. The Sentinel is more than a horror film. It's a journey into fear, faith, and the cost of sacrifice. It dared to ask hard questions and didn't flinch from uncomfortable answers. The people who made it, actors, director, crew, gave everything to create something unforgettable. They filmed in haunted places, cast real people in controversial roles, and pushed themselves to the edge of what was acceptable. The result is a film that still has the power to disturb, to provoke, and to linger in your mind. It reminds us that horror can be more than entertainment. It can be a mirror, showing us our deepest fears and our darkest impulses. The Sentinel looked into that darkness and didn't look away. Whether you love it or hate it, you can't deny its impact. If you enjoyed these stories, subscribe for more. Every movie hides a truth, and we'll keep uncovering them, one story at a time.